So you're in the market for a new fan. You've done all the research and you've narrowed it down to two great award-winning offerings from Meaco, the Sefte and the 1056. In this video, we'll be explaining the differences between the two and putting them head to head to see which comes out on top. Let's go. Okay, time for a history lesson. Let's time warp back 7 years to 2018, when Corona was just a lager with a little wedge of lime rammed down its neck. Meaco, known at the time for their dehumidifiers, released their 1056 Air Circulator fan to critical and consumer acclaim. Fast forward to 2024, and Meaco releases the Sefte, which in Meaco's own words, the 1056, but better. But is it really all that better than the 1056? That is what we're about to find out. I'm going to start where it all began, with the OG 1056 Desktop. The 1056 comes with a matte plastic, and on the base here is a large glossy black digital display with touch controls. It also comes with a handy little magnetic remote too, which sits nicely in the center of the unit, like so. We've also got a faux leather carry handle attached to the top, making it perfectly easy to carry from room to room, or swinging it like a bowling ball in the event of a home intruder, but don't expect that to be covered under the warranty. And here is the Desktop Sefte. This time around, Meaco opted to remove the tapered cone-like front of the 1056 and replaced it with a flat front. The base has been completely redesigned, growing in height but shrinking in footprint. The touch controls on the digital display have been replaced with ones right here on the base, and the user interface has been refreshed with a sleeker and more modern look. The magnetic remote has also had a makeover and now sits facing the unit for a more low-profile look when storing it on the fan, and it glows in the dark. Moving around to the side, you can see the head has a greater air intake than the 1056, giving it increased space for airflow to pass through. But what about the carry handle, I hear you cry from the comments section? We've actually been looking at it all along. The carry handle is now built right into the fan head at the back, and as a final flourish, you'll notice the plug on the Sefte isn't wired into the base like the 1056, but instead it connects in here like so. So that's how the 1056 and Sefte Desktop versions compare on looks alone. Let's have a peek at the pedestal versions next. Okay, here they are at their shortest heights. As you can tell already, the heads on these are identical to their desktop version. What's also identical are the remotes, the carry handles, and in the case of the Sefte, the plug not being wired into the base. Now here's where they begin to diverge from their desktop versions and from each other. Here on the 1056 base, you'll notice the touch controls and a digital display. On the Sefte, however, you'll notice two things. First, the base has been completely redesigned, with the addition of a contrasty black trim around the bottom. The neck also sits a little further back for stability reasons and extra clearance for the fan when you're placing it around furniture. Secondly, there are no touch controls or digital display. They've migrated further up the fan for a better accessibility and to minimize tricky bending down if you're not using the remote. Both the pedestal versions of the 1056 and the Sefte are height adjustable, and as you can see already, the Sefte has a lower base height, which makes it a perfect table fan. But the 1056 is just a little too tall for that. On the back of the 1056 is a little button that if you press and hold to extend the height of the fan by lifting the head. The Sefte has a completely different method for extending its height. In the box comes two of these connectors, which attach to both the base and the head, and lock in with a twisting mechanism. The first connector extends the Sefte to about the base height of the 1056, but the second exceeds it quite substantially. A fully extended 1056 is approximately 98 centimeters, with a fully extended Sefte coming in at just a fraction short of a towering 110 centimeters. As a little side note, because of the modular design of the Sefte, it also comes in a shorter box than the 1056 if storage is a concern. Now that you've seen how they look side by side, let's dig into what these fans can actually do. The 1056 has 12 incremental speed settings, and its maximum is capable of moving 17.6 cubic meters of air per second at speeds of 6 meters per second. That's about 13 miles per hour, or the low end of what you would consider a moderate breeze. The Sefte also has 12 incremental speed settings, and at its maximum can move 19.18 cubic meters of air per second at speeds of 7.07 meters per second, or just under 16 miles per hour. Both are pretty respectable, but the Sefte clearly has an edge. The airflow speaks for itself, but the air velocity is what makes the tangible difference to a fan's cooling capabilities. This is the wind chill factor, where faster air takes heat away from our bodies quicker, cooling us down. Now that's cleared up, let's take a look at their modes. The Sefte and the 1056 have additional modes built in as convenience features. The default on both is the normal mode, where you simply switch the unit on and set your desired fan speed between 1 and 12. Both share what Meaco calls eco mode, honestly missing out on just calling it Meaco mode, which steps the fan speed up or down depending on what the temperature of the fan's thermostat detects. The Sefte and the 1056 also have a timer which can be set between 1 and 12 hours and can be used to tell the fan when to turn off or when to wake up and start working. Finally, we have the night mode, which is exclusive to the Sefte. In night mode, the display shuts off and the buttons will no longer beep when pressed. In addition to this, the fan will also drop its speed one step every half an hour until it reaches its whisper quiet lowest level. While the 1056 does have an option to turn the display off, it unfortunately doesn't have the option to mute the unit like the Sefte does. Oh, and if you hold down the mute button on the Sefte for 5 seconds, it'll change the temperature display from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Though I have no idea why you'd want to change it to Fahrenheit in the first place. Drop a comment below if you're Team Celsius or if you're Team Fahrenheit. If you're something weird like Team Kelvin, then subscribe! Both the Sefte and the 1056 feature industry-leading energy efficiency, which at the time of recording translates to less than a penny per hour to run. The Sefte technically uses more power on average than the 1056, but we're talking literally the difference of 2 watts. The Sefte and the 1056 are also both Quiet Mark approved. Quiet Mark certification comes from rigorous acoustic testing in partnership with the Good Housekeeping Institute and an alliance of leading UK retailers. The Sefte has the advantage here with a lower starting noise floor than the 1056 by about 4 decibels, but either of these are satisfyingly silent in comparison to most other fans. Both the Sefte and the 1056 are capable of horizontal and vertical oscillation. Oscillation is vital to getting air moving over large spaces and helps ventilation and cooling, which is kind of the point of buying a fan in the first place. The 1056 has a horizontal range of 80 degrees and a vertical range of 60, whereas the Sefte has a little extra vertical reach at 65 degrees and a whopping amount more on the horizontal range at a maximum of 120 degrees. Both the Sefte and the 1056 are relatively lightweight despite the solid build quality, and they weigh practically the same too, with both pedestal versions clocking in at 5.4 kilograms, and the Sefte Desktop at 3 kilograms, and the 1056 Desktop fractionally more at 3.2 kilograms. So for the powerlifters among us, you may want to consider the 1056 Desktop for those sick gains. Oh, yeah, grunting noises and such. Now, as for the price point, not accounting for sales or promotions, the recommended retail price for the 1056 is about £10 to £30 cheaper than the Sefte, depending on whether you're buying the desktop or the pedestal version. So in the end, the Sefte and the 1056 are very similar, and for most it'll boil down to a price point and the design preference. My take is that the Sefte really is the 1056, but better. From look and feel to performance and versatility, but it's still quite a close run race. The Sefte is an advancement on the 1056, but more of an incremental step forward rather than a stratospheric leap ahead, and you can easily feel confident in purchasing either. Catch you next time.